In this video, I'll teach you Visual Studio shortcuts that will save you lots of time. So Control D will duplicate any line. And say I can't see very well, if I hold Control and use my scroll bar, that'll help me zoom in and out. Now, if I press Control and use my arrow keys, that'll skip around one word at a time. And if I press Shift and use my arrow keys, that'll highlight. If I press Control and Shift, it does both, where it highlights and skips around one word at a time. Now, if I press Alt on my current line and then press up or down arrows, it'll move that line up and down. And if I press Alt Shift, it'll move my cursor onto multiple lines at once, so I can add more text to multiple lines. And now that I have a cursor on multiple lines, all I have to do is press Shift, and I can actually highlight multiple lines. And if I highlight just one line and press Tab, it'll replace it with a tab. But if I highlight multiple lines, this is a way of adding tabs to multiple lines simply by pressing Tab or Shift Tab to get rid of a tab. Next, if I press Control O, it'll open the File Explorer, and it'll take me straight to the file that I was looking at in Visual Studio. Next, all I have to do is press Control F to find anything like sub, and it'll be highlighted. And each time I press Enter, it'll take me to the next occurrence of the thing I'm searching for. There's also this drop-down arrow that will let me replace whatever I've chosen with other text. But a faster way of doing that is just by pressing Control H, and now I'll have the replace dialog all ready to go. I can replace sub and then press Tab to get into the new entry, and I'll make that lowercase. And I could either press Control R to replace one instance at a time, or I could press Control A to replace all instances at once. As you can see, these shortcuts are listed here, and I got that wrong. It's actually Alt A. That's why that wasn't working. So Alt A will replace 3 occurrences. And if I uncheck this message, then I'm not going to get this dialog anymore, but it's kind of nice to have. Next, because any YouTube tutorial is not complete without cats integrated to help it go viral, I'm going to show you some shortcuts with regard to making classes. So if I have a header file that defines a class, and it just creates declarations of the different functions I'm using, and then I'll actually implement these functions in a C++ file that includes the header file. This is kind of the standard way of doing things. And the nice part about this is all you have to do is declare the function here, and then I can right-click, or I can click on this paintbrush, and I can create a definition of cat in the corresponding C++ file. And then it'll even open up a window containing that newly created definition of cat. And now, say I'm in this header file and I want to see the definition of this cat, I can right-click here and I can either peek the definition to bring up the definition, or I can go to the definition to actually go to the file containing this definition. So I'll just do that again by going here, and instead of holding the paintbrush, in case that doesn't come up, you can actually right-click and go to Quick Actions and Refactoring, and I'll just create the definition of meow in cat.c++. This is a very useful way of jumping around to check out definitions of different variables, because this doesn't just work for functions. You can peek the definition of anything just by peeking this definition, or going to the definition, or going to all declarations. And this is great stuff to master for navigating large code bases. If you feel like you learned something today, please subscribe for more great educational content and have a wonderful day. Adios.